A lot of the truths that psychologists have stumbled over, let's say, are actually quite painful. I think it's the harshness of life. So I was doing an interview with NBC reporter, I don't remember who it was, but he didn't like me at all. So he was trying to catch me out on all sorts of things. And we talked about makeup in the workplace. And I said that women use makeup to enhance their sexual attractiveness. And man, you wouldn't believe the flack I got for that. And I said, well, the reddening of the lips, for example, and the rouging of the cheeks is not only a signal to mimic youth and fertility, but it's likely associated with mimicry of ripe fruit because our visual system evolved to detect ripe fruit. And if you look through any advertising, like any magazine, women's magazines in particular, the association between makeup and fruit is there in the imagery all the time. So, yes. and the flavor as well, for that matter. So, did I say something that I shouldn't have said? Am I wrong about that in some important way?
No, you're not wrong about it, but I know what you mean. I've got some flack for that as well. And I mean, one thing that, on this finding that men prioritize physical attractiveness, and that physical attractiveness is not just this arbitrary social construction, but in fact, underlying it is a set of cues to youth and cues to health and hence cues to fertility. This is a very upsetting notion to some people. And so I was actually, even before I published the 37 Culture Study, I gave a talk on it to a sociology department when I was at Michigan. And a female professor came up to me afterwards and said that I shouldn't publish the findings. And I said, well, why not? Because to me, empirical findings are empirical findings, But she said that women had it hard enough without in competing with each other on physical appearance without being told that men have this evolved preference for it, and so the standard social science model is more comfortable for people to believe, oh, it's just arbitrary and infinitely changeable, and you go to, any different culture and they value a whole different set of things. And the notion that we have evolved preferences for fertility cues is anathema to some people.
Yeah, well, but you can understand it to some degree because a lot of the truths that psychologists have stumbled over, let's say, are actually quite painful. I mean, I reviewed the IQ literature for about 20 years trying to get to the bottom of it, and it's very distressing to realize how wide the human differential is in cognitive ability. It's really quite a staggering thing to understand how broad that gap is and how much pain that causes, especially at the lower end of the distribution. And the fact that men are stringently selected for, let's say, the capacity to acquire a position in a competence hierarchy, and women are brutally punished in terms of their sexual attractiveness for not manifesting signs of fertility and youth. It's like there's a real harshness to that, but it's the harshness, I think it's the harshness of life. And actually understanding that makes it less harsh insofar as understanding is useful.
No, I would agree with that. And, I've stumbled across a lot of findings in my research, and we'll get to the issue of conflict between the sexes, that I find personally distressing, that I wish didn't exist, but they do. And so I feel similarly that, we're better off confronting our nature and the empirical reality, including sex differences in that nature, rather than just pretending that these features don't exist.
Well, we also should be very cognizant of the fact that the counterclaim, which is that, well, there are no biological what would you say, structures underlying our perception, sexual perception and otherwise, and our cognition. So we have no biological nature, which means we're infinitely amenable to social utopian schemes that are designed to turn us into a particular vision of human. And there's great danger in that too. So that's the other side of the coin. There's danger everywhere.
Yeah, well, what I would say is, implicit in those notions is that humans are passive vehicles rather than active strategists that can be easily manipulated by whatever, and that's not a very flattering view of humans.
No, and it's justified some rather wide-scale social engineering attempts in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
So it is a real danger. It's not. And that doesn't take away anything from the fact that there is such thing as unpleasant fact.
Yes.
So, and it's reasonable to be cognizant of that.